Welcome to the Scenario Podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're listening, chances are you're thinking about keeping your mind sharp. Something we all want, right? Especially, maybe after 50, staying focused, holding on to memories, and for years, decades even, we've looked for answers. One thing keeps popping up everywhere, the multivitamin. Just that simple daily pill. But can it actually make a real difference for your brain health? Can it really help preserve your memory? Okay, let's unpack this. We've really dug into the recent science here, specifically the big clinical trials, the gold standard stuff. Our mission today, to cut through all the noise, the weak studies, the marketing hype, and just focus on solid evidence. Can a multivitamin genuinely help alongside things we know are good, like leafy greens or omega-3s? You want the real details, not just a summary. And that's what we aim to give you.
Right. And maybe first we should define what we're up against, this sort of age-related decline. Look, some forgetfulness is completely normal. We all lose our keys sometimes, forget a name, it happens. But then there are the more, significant changes, finding it hard to keep new information straight, struggling with, say, managing finances, or just not being able to focus like you used to. Those things really impact your quality of life. And then, of course, there's the severe end, like Alzheimer's or other forms of cognitive impairment. So what's really driving the research now is this focus on prevention. Can we find nutritional strategies that actually protect brain cells, or maybe even slow down some of those degenerative processes? Multivitamins fit into this because they offer such a broad mix of nutrients. The idea, the hypothesis really, is that they might fill crucial gaps needed for the brain to work optimally. And that's the potential link to preserving memory we're exploring.
Exactly. And for so long, the science on supplements was, kind of messy. Lots of studies showing maybe a link, but nothing definitive. But recently, things have changed. We're seeing these big, rigorous, randomized controlled trials, RCTs. And when you talk about multivitamins and brain health now, with actual scientific weight behind it, you have to talk about Cosmos. Here's where it gets really interesting. Cosmos, that stands for the Cocoa Supplement and Multivitamin Outcomes Study. It's massive. And cocoa was in the name because they tested cocoa flavanols too in a separate group, but we're focusing just on the multivitamin results here. What did that involve?
It was a huge undertaking, really rigorous. Cosmos involved over 20,000 adults, all aged 60 or older, right across the U.S., and they followed them for 3 years. Half took a daily multivitamin, the standard kind you'd find anywhere, and the other half took a placebo, strict protocol. And the results, honestly, they were stronger than a lot of people expected. The main takeaway was a clear, statistically significant slowing of cognitive aging in the group taking the multivitamin compared to placebo.
A slowing? Okay. But specifically, what kind of cognitive function?
Good question. It was most noticeable in episodic memory. That's your ability to, learn new things and then recall them later, like remembering a list or details from a conversation. It's often one of the first things to decline with age.
Right, that makes sense. But slowing can mean different things. How much of a difference did it actually make? Can we quantify that?
They did quantify it in a way that's pretty understandable. They looked at the average cognitive test scores each year for both groups, and what they found over those 3 years was that the multivitamin group showed less decline. The difference was equivalent to about 2 to 3 years of typical age-related memory decline.
Wow, 2 to 3 years. That sounds significant. Clinically meaningful, as they say.
It is. It suggests a real slowing in the rate of memory loss for those specific tasks.
And crucially, this wasn't just a one-off finding from Cosmos, right? The sources mention other trials.
Exactly. That's maybe the most compelling part. Other RCTs, looking at different groups of people, some running for 2 years, some up to 4, they've generally shown similar results, a consistent pattern pointing towards benefits in slowing overall cognitive aging.
Interesting.
And another key point researchers noted, the benefits seemed strongest in those older adults who are already considered at higher risk for cognitive decline. Which sort of supports that nutritional gap idea. Maybe these supplements help most when your baseline nutrition isn't quite optimal.
Right. So if we accept the evidence that this multivitamin mix is doing something beneficial, the next question is, what in the mix is responsible? Is it one specific vitamin doing all the work, or is it the combination?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Isolating the exact mechanism. Most multivitamins have, dozens of components, vitamins, minerals, sometimes other things too. The general thinking leans towards synergy, the idea that all these components work together, maybe better than any single one would on its own.
Okay, synergy. But are there specific ingredients scientists are looking at closely?
Definitely. We can point to a few key players and their likely roles. Take the B vitamins, especially B6, folate, which is B9, and B12. These are absolutely critical for brain energy metabolism. And they also help regulate levels of homocysteine. That's an amino acid, and when it gets too high, it's linked to memory problems and even damage to blood vessels in the brain. So B vitamins might help by keeping homocysteine levels in check. It's like a detoxifying role for the brain support system.
Okay, that's a concrete mechanism. What else? The antioxidants.
Exactly. Vitamin C and E, they're the classic protectors against oxidative stress. Brain cells are very vulnerable to damage from free radicals, and this damage accumulates with age. C and E help shield those cells. And we shouldn't forget vitamin D. We're learning more and more about its role. It seems to act almost like a hormone in the brain, influencing brain development, how brain cells communicate, neuroplasticity. It's quite important.
So we have energy support, detoxification, protection. And what about inflammation? That seems to come up a lot with brain aging.
Absolutely critical. Chronic low-level inflammation is increasingly seen as a major villain in cognitive decline and risk for diseases like Alzheimer's. Many of the micronutrients in a multivitamin are thought to have anti-inflammatory effects when taken together. So dampening down that harmful inflammation might be a really key way these supplements offer protection.
That anti-inflammatory angle often brings up omega-3s, right? Fish oil and the like. How do they fit in? Are they usually in multivitamins?
That's a really important distinction to make. Omega-3s are well known for their anti-inflammatory and brain protective benefits. Lots of research there. But crucially, they are not typically included in your standard off-the-shelf daily multivitamin. So if you're thinking about a comprehensive supplement strategy for brain health, omega-3s would likely be a separate consideration, an additional supplement.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears a bit to the practical side of things. We know the market is flooded with products making wild claims about memory boosting, pills promising miracles. But studies like Cosmos, these large RCTs, they give us something different. Actual evidence. It sets a higher bar.
It really does. But even with strong evidence like Cosmos, you need to keep things in perspective. Multivitamins, based on this data, seem to be supportive tools. They aren't a magic bullet or a cure if significant decline has already set in. Think of them as complementing a healthy lifestyle, not replacing it.
And what about safety? Are there any risks, especially for older adults?
Generally, standard multivitamins are considered safe when you take them as recommended. Mild stomach upset is maybe the most common side effect, if any, but there is a potential risk, especially for older adults, and that's getting too much of certain nutrients, particularly the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K because your body stores them, also minerals like iron. Taking excessive amounts, maybe by combining different supplements without realizing it, can lead to problems like toxicity. It's called hypervitaminosis. That potential risk is precisely why talking to a doctor before starting is so important, particularly if you're over 50 or have other health conditions.
That's a really crucial point. Which leads us perfectly into some guidelines. For anyone listening who's heard this evidence and is thinking, okay, maybe this is something I should consider, we've pulled together 4 key guidelines for doing it smartly. Number 1. Quality check. This is huge. Don't just grab any bottle off the shelf. Look for products from reputable brands that have third-party testing seals, things like USP or NSF International. That seal basically verifies that what's claimed on the label is actually in the pill, and it doesn't contain harmful contaminants, purity, and potency.
Couldn't agree more. Number 2, consultation. We just touched on this, but it bears repeating. Especially if you're over 50, talk to your doctor or a healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, including a multivitamin. They know your health history, what medications you're on. They can advise if it's appropriate and help you avoid potential interactions or that risk of getting too much of certain vitamins. Essential advice. Number 3, realistic expectations. Remember what the studies showed. They showed a slowing of age-related decline in specific memory tasks. Not a reversal, not a cure. Think of it as offering some extra resilience, a supportive measure within a larger plan for brain health, not a standalone fix.
Exactly. And that leads right into number 4. Pairing is essential. This is maybe the most important guideline. The benefits seen in studies like Cosmos are likely maximized when the multivitamin is part of a bigger picture, a complement to a whole wellness strategy. That means regular physical activity, hugely important for the brain. Keeping your mind active and challenged, eating a healthy diet, whole foods, plenty of those leafy greens we mentioned, maybe adding those omega-3s, and maintaining social connections. All these lifestyle factors are independently proven to support cognitive function. The multivitamin works with them, not instead of them. Right, so what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, the consistency we're seeing across these large, well-conducted trials, especially the Cosmos results, suggesting that 2 to 3 year slowing effect on memory decline, it does provide some real reassurance. While a multivitamin isn't a replacement for a healthy lifestyle, the evidence suggests it can be a validated piece of the puzzle for preserving cognitive function as we age.
A validated piece, yes, but just one piece. Which brings us to a final thought, something for you to ponder. These studies, like Cosmos, require people to take a pill faithfully every single day for years. That takes commitment, adherence. So the question is, do the cognitive benefits observed come solely from the vitamins and minerals filling nutritional gaps? Or could it be that the act of sticking to that daily regimen itself tells us something? Is taking a daily multivitamin simply a marker for someone who is already proactive about their health, engaged in wellness, and more likely to be doing all those other beneficial things too? It's a bit of a chicken and egg question, isn't it? Where does the benefit truly originate?
That's a fascinating question and definitely adds another layer of complexity, something we need to keep considering. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into multivitamins and brain health. We hope this gave you some clear, evidence-based insights. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scenario Podcast. Don't forget to visit scenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.